Hello guys, you've seen me I guess. So today I want to talk about, I should actually say my name right, Toto-chan, yeah. So today I want to talk about doubling the original. It's not a trendy name, it's not like an awesome name, but doubling the original, and it's in the book of Job, and I think you've all heard it before. But if you haven't, that is why I'm doing it, because I've just been told to do this. It's more of a learning experience for me as well, so if you hear me stumble at any point, that is because I don't know it all, and I'm still learning from God. So we'll start in Job 1, chapter 1, verse 1. do I read in an awesome voice, or do I just let it go? I think I just let it go. There was a man in the name of Uz, not Oz by the way, just Uz, whose name was Job. And and that man was perfect and upright, and the one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there was born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. That's 10 if you can't add 10 kids. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camel, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, or if like to be PC, woman donkey. Okay, so I just want to be PC. Alright. And a very great household. So this man was the greatest man on all of the east. This man was rich. Now, no, I think I'll leave it for now. It's for another teaching. But he was very rich. He was the richest man, the greatest man of all of the men in the east. Number one, he feared God and he was rich. I think he was probably the most famous man in the east as well. And his sons went and feasted in their house everyone in his And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And it was so, when the day of their feasting was gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt sacrifices according to the number of all of them. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus Job did continually. Stop right there. Right. So, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to put the Bible over here. Just hang on a second. So people ask, what is his greatest fear? Some people will put across losing all his things. Some people, there's a lot of theories that he'd get sick, that he'd deteriorate, does decay, get sick, die. It wasn't any of that. The one thing he feared more than anything was the cursing of God. Not just for him to curse God. He didn't want to hear any curses towards God. That was his biggest fear. And I think it says it right there. Let me just get back up and read it one more time for you guys. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of all of them. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts. So it wasn't just the saying of it. I just think they've done something silly. It wasn't just the spoken word of cursing God. It was the heart word of cursing God. if he said it in his heart, or anybody said it in their heart, that's what he was afraid of. Especially his family. Especially his family, I would say. Sorry about that. So, I want you to go to Job, back to Job where we were. We'll read from there. Now there were days where sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them. So you got to realize Satan still has access to heaven. He still has access to heaven. He can still get into heaven. He can still get into the throne room. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth. Realize Satan is not all powerful. He has to travel to and fro. He has to actually physically travel. Once he fell, he lost the power to just teleport anywhere. He still has the fact that he's in another dimension, so we cannot see him. But he could be standing right here beside me and growling to me. I don't know. I can't hear growling at the moment. Maybe howling, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I can't hear it. Oh gosh. So me. Where was I? So, come to and fro in the earth from walking up and down in it. So again, he has to walk up and down. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job? I mean, why is he saying this? Why does he go, hey, have you seen my servant Job? I think he was making a point. I think he was trying to make a point and turned it around, but it didn't turn around for the worse, it turned it around for the better. And there is none like him in the earth, and he is perfect and is an upright man, one that feared God and escheweth evil. And Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? Or is it that Job could possibly, just possibly, fear you for absolutely nothing? Hast not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he has on every side? Now, I hope I'm not plagiarizing, and I will put down the context of where I got this from in the maybe not the video, because I watched it a couple of years ago and just thought it was amazing. 2015, a couple of years ago, last year I think. But yeah, 2015, 2014. Anyway, whether it was 2015, whether it was 2014, it was still a good talk, and he talked about multiplying your riches. Not in a way of like, oh, I'll do this to get rich, but no, there was a whole thing about it. So anyway, so then Satan asked and said, does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around about him, and about his house, and about all he has on every side? So this house, this hedge was not a physical hedge. Satan can get through them. He doesn't get hurt by thorns. It wasn't a hedge of physicality. It was what I believe was just probably either a hedge of angels with flaming swords around about the house, or just a hedge of God's presence, so he can't get a hedge of God's presence. In fact, I think this should actually say more. It's more of a room around his house. So this is a room covering his house, or a dome. Think of a dome around his house. But anyway, it says in here a hedge, and that could possibly just be for Nemo. So what I want you to do now is actually pray with me. I haven't finished my message, but I do want to stop for a second and just pray. So please just bow your heads and shut your eyes and take it all in. And receive it, if you will, if you don't already have a hedge around you. In Jesus' name we pray. Lord, I come to you today and ask you to be a hedge around any viewer who's watching this video. Any viewer who's watching this video. And Lord, I ask you to command them to go out and preach this word to the world. And not only preach this word to the world, also give them the ability, or them the belief to put hedges around people they pray about. Because Lord, I believe a revival is coming to this world. A revival is coming to New Zealand, to America, to Asia, to the Middle East, to Iraq, to Iran, to everywhere in this world. There is going to be a huge revolt against atheism, against Islam, against Buddhism, and they're going to come to you, Lord. And I pray that these people are the start of this revolt against the devil himself. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And then it goes on to say, Thou hast blessed the work of his hand, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face. This is a little bit strong, isn't it? He will curse you to your face. I mean, could you imagine if someone came up to you and just like, I curse thee, or I wish you were never born, I wish that you were never made, I wish you never made me, because you have cursed me, so now I don't want to live with you. I don't want to live in harmony with you. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he has is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So this is saying, you can do anything to his surroundings, but you touch any part of his body, I'm coming after you, Satan. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Now you have to, actually I just forgot to say something right then. You have to remember something. Look at it as Satan was God's dog. Okay, Satan was his puppy, his love, his love. He loved Satan. He was the anointed cherub. You got to realize, when Satan spoke, music came out. Like valves, like pipes, music came out. Like these olden day organs where the music would just. That's what would happen, and you got to realize that was God's creation, and He loved Satan. He doesn't now. He absolutely hates Satan, but at one point in time he loved Satan very much. And so think of Satan as a dog, and think of him as a rabid dog. God doesn't have the God has the strength enough to do it, right? But think of it like that rabid dog was threatening to kill another dog if you tried to kill that dog, one of your other dogs, and that dog now is your most beloved dog, okay? Or you had like 10 dogs, and they were all your beloved dogs, and this one dog had the power to kill them. They had rabies, they had all these kind of diseases, and if they even bit them, these dogs would become infected. Only one could not become infected, and that was Jesus. So think of it like that, and think of it as God's not going to destroy him right now, until those dogs have first died, and then he'll destroy him. That was a bad description, but I think it served the purpose. And so God instead of allowing him to run all over field though, or over the section, if you will, he has him in a lead, a very tight lead, a very short lead, but sometimes will let him go after another dog to prove that dog is stronger than Satan when he is really stronger. When the other dog is so stronger than Satan, okay? A bad metaphor, but I think it served the purpose anyway. I hope I hope you understood it. I can't explain it. I have to get back to it. I just lost myself. Alright, so Satan, so it goes, and so the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in your power. Only upon himself put not forth your hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine, and I think you know how the story goes, eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job, and said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside themselves, and the Sabines fell upon them, and took them away. Yea, they have slain every servant with the edge of the sword, and only I have escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another servant came to him with some more bad news. While he was speaking, another servant came to him with more bad news. I don't have to say it again, do I? While he was speaking, another servant came. Hang on. You guys need to hear this. See, have you noticed when something goes wrong in your life? Sorry, my hair looks bad. When something goes wrong in your life, God seems to be far away. God seems to not even be there. And it seems like everything in your life is falling apart. You'll hear one bad thing, and while that one bad thing is still going on, you'll hear another bad thing, and while that second bad thing is still going on, you'll hear another bad thing. It'll just be, it's a domino effect, just boom, 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 boom. That's all that happens in your life. And it's not about, it's not about your person, it's about the devil attacking you. It's not about other things. Now, sometimes you may cause it to come on yourself. You may get into debt after debt after debt. That is not Satan, that is you. But if something like someone dies, say a debt that you weren't expecting, like you had a car crash, they blamed it on you for no apparent reason, and then you had someone die, and then you had another person die, and then you lost maybe you are an owner of a farm, and a disease struck your farm, wiped out all your cattle and everything like that. And stuff like this happens every time, and you've got to realize this is every life. Something like this will happen to you. There'll be a domino effect. It will seem like everything in your life is falling apart. Just stay together. Stay with God, because the story has a good ending. So where was I? And while he was yet speaking, there came another, and said, The fire of God has fallen from heaven, and hath burnt up all the sheep, and the servant, and consumed them, all the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I alone have escaped to tell you. I alone. While yet he was still speaking, there came along another, and he said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and only I have come along. Everything just keeps happening and happening and happening and happening, remember? And while he was still speaking, there came another, and said, Thy sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, a great wind from the wilderness, a great wind. I don't have to say it again, do I? and smote the four corners of the house, and fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I alone am escaped, alone to tell you. Then Job arose and went and rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground, and worshipped, and said, Naked am I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord grave. Oh, sorry. I'm mumbling on my words, man. Okay, so let me say it again. And said, Naked I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And in all this, Job did not sin, nor charged God foolishly. Okay, I want to go back to this part about the falling apart of his life. Okay, so why was it the beasts that were attacked first? Why couldn't Satan just kill his sons? Why was it the beasts? Well, you've got to see something. Go back a little bit in the Bible. Go back a little bit to chapter 5, and it says, and it was so. Verse 5, not chapter 5. Verse 5. And also when the days of the feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of all of them. Okay, so I've got some good news in all of this. You don't even have to go through, well, your children don't even have to go through all of this. You don't have to go through all of this. What makes, and you've got to have for the first probably 5-6 months, you've got to build up the habit of doing it. It can't just be a ritual. It has to be a habit, a daily habit that you do out of habit, not because you have to, but because you want to, and that you cannot physically stop doing it. You have to pray the blood of Jesus over your life. He offered burnt offerings. You have to offer Jesus up to your kids. Offer his life up to your kids. You have to say, Jesus, you died for my sins. I don't have to go through what Satan wants to put me through. I put the blood of Jesus over me. Even if you're going through hard times, you say, I don't have to deal with this, Jesus. I put the blood of Jesus, I put your blood over my head. I smother it all over my body. I want to bathe in it day, night, morning. I want to eat your blood. Okay, that's a little bit too far. That becomes cannibalism. But I want to eat your flesh and drink your blood every day. Every day. If you have to do communion at your home every day, and people say it should only be a church thing, I don't believe so. I believe it should be not a ritual, a habit. There's a difference between a ritual and a habit. A habit is something you cannot stop. If you're a gambler, and it becomes a habit to gamble, and it's not a ritual, you cannot stop it. A ritual is something you don't necessarily want to do. You just do it because you feel obligated to do that thing. I'm sorry I'm on a little bit too much here, but you're getting used to what the new show's going to be like, I guess, in July. So we go back here. So you have got to put the blood of Jesus over your kids, over yourself, over your life, over everything you own. Over your property. Put it over every day, even if you're in the midst of bad things, even if bad things are starting to happen. You watch, you prophesy, you say, I am not going to have that tomorrow. And if it comes back tomorrow, you go, I'm not going to have it come back tomorrow. Just keep doing that. Keep pushing on. Keep the belief. And you will see that stuff will start to fall back into place. You need Jesus in your life every single day. You need to pray the blood of Jesus over yourself every single day. I don't do it every day. I want to start doing it every single day. I'm going to start doing it every single day. It is going to become a habit. You may miss a day and start seeing things fall apart. Do it. As soon as you know you have missed it, try and do it in the morning. Straight away. Then it's over and done with. Right? Try and do it in the morning. Make it a ritual to start off with. A ritual becomes a habit, something you cannot live without. You cannot not do. Alright? Make it a ritual first, then a habit. Okay? And in the whole thing, where there's something bad's happening, do not curse God. and you'll see what else is cursing God himself. Okay. I'm going to skip the whole turmoil. You know what they all say, because Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar came to him. And they're all saying it's because of this, you curse God, you must have sinned, you're a sinner. Why? Because they probably were Jews, and they probably came to Job to say hello, and probably sat there with him and saw he was grieving. So they came, comforting him for days and days and days and days. And they were probably just being taught the law. So that's probably why, because the law, you get boils if you sin, your sheep die. If you sin, your children die. It actually works so that they believe he had secretly sinned. Basically, that's what happens. I'm not going to go right through it. I do want to kind of finish this here, but you will see it starts to have an effect on Job, and Job doesn't curse God. He never says anything to curse God, but then he starts cursing himself. He says, "Why was I born? I wish I was never born. I want to die. I'm filth. I'm dirt." And this, if you go back to Genesis 1, I will send you the verse because I think it's important. If you go back to Genesis 1, you will see that God says, "And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the earth, over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, and over everything that creeps along the earth." You've got to understand we're in the image of God. So you curse his image, you're cursing God. And I'm sorry, I'm moving around a lot. But what did God do in the Bible? Sorry, that sounded really Southern American sort of. To me anyway, in my head it did. And I don't want to sound Southern American because I don't want to sound American. I am a New Zealander. Anyway, so God gave him double of all his animals back. He took away his boils. He was healthy again. He gave him 7 more sons and 3 more daughters. Why did he only give him 7 more sons and 3 more daughters though? He gave him 7 more sons and 3 more daughters because he already had the other half of his sons and daughters. He wasn't going to give him 14 sons and 6 daughters because he already had 14 sons and 6 daughters. 7 were in heaven and 7 were on earth. 3 were in heaven, 3 were on earth. I want to give you one more verse for the day, and this is the verse of the day. Okay. It says in chapter 11, verse obviously Job, chapter 11, verse 10. If he, talking about Job, or actually people in general, because if he cut off and shut up, this is King James as well, so you're going to remember it's blunt. If he cut off and shut up, or gather together, then who can hinder him? For he knows vain men. He sees wickedness also. He does not. He's not then considerate. Will he not then consider it? For vain man would be wise, though man to be born like a wild ass colt. Again, talking about donkey. Stubborn donkey. Wild, stubborn donkey. Not very smart as well. If thou prepare thine heart and stretch out thine hand towards him, talking about God, if you will, if any iniquity be in thine hand, and it's far away, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacles. And tabernacles means home. If you're a New Zealander, there is something here called. I'm getting nervous because I might not say it right. and I don't want to be grilled. No, I'm sorry. It's called a now it's got in my head. I'm sorry, guys. The furry. It's called. It's called. I'm sorry, Molly. I don't. Do not. Um. No, you can do whatever you want. I don't care really, because I know I'm not doing wrong. It's called a furry and means house. But a furry isn't always a house. It could be a hall. They they the main furry in the tribal. Uh, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. In the buildings, it's a fuddy, and it's actually not necessarily maybe I'm not sure. I don't really look it up, but I do know that it is basically a hall, or it's basically a hall where people sleep. It's not necessarily a house, because it doesn't have separate rooms for people to sleep in. But it's like an apartment building with one big room where people sleep on the floor with no beds, obviously, unless they obviously become modernized. I don't know if any societies have done that, but they basically have mattresses. Um, Traditionally, I think were woven from flax, if I'm right with that. Traditionally woven with flax. They had beads. Now I'm probably completely wrong. Because I don't really study multicultural. All I know is there's something called a furry, and I was just making the point that a furry doesn't. A furry is not just where they worship. It's where they sleep. It's where they basically play and spend most of their day, maybe outside occasionally. Yeah. Go ask mine, but I thank you for joining me. And if I did butcher your whole culture, please do write down there because, yeah, I'm sorry. And if I did be a false, I'm sure that's what it is though. It's a hall where you sleep and play, you socialize and that kind of stuff. Um, so it's that kind of tabernacle doesn't just mean a worship place. You've got to realize a tabernacle means also a house. In the Bible, it says that the disciples were willing to make a house for Moses and Elijah, or a tabernacle. I don't think they were going to make a big. It was like a tent. Was what it was. What they wanted to make. Uh, if you've ever been to Israel on the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles is actually booths. You will see from booths. I think there are two-tier booths, but basically it has no roof, and you'll live in that for a week. And you won't have any more. And I think the feast says no modern technology or anything like that. Basically, you live in there. You know how to go inside your house, in your real house, not this tabernacle house. And I'd say it's probably like maybe, uh, maybe like enough for people to sleep in, 4 or 5 people to sleep in. Play and live in for the whole of the week. And that is what they were meaning with booths. Now, some people would probably use tents and just get the ones with the clear, uh, clear roofs. But again, if I have butchered your culture, Māori people, write down there, tell me the truth about it. And I'll see you next week. But until then, stay safe, guys. Next week? Don't know. Next time, maybe next week, maybe tomorrow. See you next time, but until then, stay safe, guys, and as always, I think I just switched into Māori language. I mean,